Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about learning English and how to make the process feel simple instead of overwhelming.
That's right. So many people feel stressed when they think about learning a new language. Today, we want to change that feeling, at least a little bit.
Exactly. So let's start with a question I think a lot of listeners have. Why does learning English feel so difficult for so many people?
I think it's mostly about expectations. People expect to understand everything quickly. And when that doesn't happen, they feel discouraged.
That's such a good point. Learning a language takes time, but a lot of people expect results in just a few weeks.
Right. And when progress feels slow, people start to believe they're just bad at languages, which usually isn't true at all.
So, today we want to talk about a few common myths about learning English and then move on to some practical tips that actually work.
Sounds good. Let's start with the first myth. A lot of people believe you need to be young to learn a new language easily.
Yes, this is such a common belief. People say things like, I'm too old to learn English now.
But this isn't really true. Adults actually have some advantages that children don't have.
Like what, for example?
Well, adults already understand grammar concepts from their first language. They can also study more strategically because they understand how learning works.
That's true. Children learn language naturally, but very slowly over many years. Adults can actually learn faster if they study the right way.
Exactly. Age is not really the problem. The real problem is usually fear or lack of consistent practice.
Okay, let's talk about the second myth. Some people believe that you need to master grammar before you can start speaking.
This is one of my favorite myths to talk about because I completely disagree with it.
Same here. What do you think is the problem with this idea?
The problem is, grammar rules alone don't create the ability to speak. Speaking is a physical, active skill, not just knowledge in your head.
Right, it's like knowing the rules of swimming, but never actually getting into the water.
Exactly that comparison. You can read about swimming for years, but you won't actually learn to swim until you try it yourself.
So, your advice is to start speaking early, even before grammar feels perfect.
Absolutely. Speak as soon as possible, even with mistakes. Your grammar will improve naturally through practice and correction.
Let's talk about the third myth now. A lot of learners believe they need to move to an English speaking country to become fluent.
This one is interesting because living abroad definitely helps, but it's not actually required.
I agree. With the internet today, you can create your own English environment right from home.
Exactly. You can watch English videos, listen to podcasts like this one, join online conversation groups, and read English articles every day.
So basically, immersion doesn't have to mean physically moving somewhere. It can mean surrounding yourself with English content daily.
That's a great way to put it. Immersion is really about consistent exposure, not location.
Okay, now let's move on to some practical tips. What's the first tip you'd give to someone starting today?
I always recommend starting with listening. Before speaking confidently, your ears need to become familiar with the sounds and rhythm of English.
How much listening would you recommend for a beginner?
Even 15 to 20 minutes a day is enough as long as you do it consistently every single day.
And it doesn't have to be complicated content, right?
Not at all. Simple conversations, slow podcasts, or even children's shows can be great for beginners.
That's helpful because a lot of people think they need to watch difficult content to improve quickly.
Actually, the opposite is often true. Understanding simple content builds confidence, which keeps you motivated to continue.
Great tip. What's the second practical tip you'd suggest?
Building a small vocabulary routine. Instead of memorizing long lists of random words, focus on words connected to real situations.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure, if you're learning words about ordering food, learn related words together, like menu, waiter, order, and bill, instead of unrelated words from a dictionary.
That makes a lot of sense because you'll actually use those words together in real conversations.
Exactly. Connected learning helps your brain remember things much more naturally.
Okay, tip number 3. What about speaking practice specifically?
My advice here is to start by speaking alone. Talk to yourself in English, describing simple things you're doing during the day.
Like narrating your actions?
Exactly. Say things like, I'm making coffee or I'm getting ready for work. This builds comfort without the pressure of talking to another person.
And after that, moving to real conversations?
Right. Once you feel a little more comfortable, try speaking with a language partner, a tutor, or an online conversation group.
What if someone feels too nervous to speak with another person yet?
That's completely normal. Nervousness is part of the process. Start small, maybe just a 5-minute conversation, and slowly increase the time.
That's really encouraging advice. Let's talk about mistakes now, because I know a lot of learners are afraid of making them.
Mistakes are honestly one of the most important parts of learning. Every single fluent speaker made countless mistakes along the way.
So mistakes aren't a sign of failure.
Not at all. They're proof that you're actively trying and learning something new. Progress requires mistakes. There's really no way around it.
I love that perspective. Let's talk about consistency now, because I think this is one of the most important factors overall.
Absolutely. Consistency matters much more than intensity. Studying for 30 minutes every day is far more effective than 5 hours once a week.
Why do you think consistency works so much better?
Because your brain needs regular repetition to build strong memory connections. Long gaps between study sessions cause you to forget what you've learned.
That makes sense. It's similar to physical exercise, actually.
Exactly the same idea. You can't build strength by exercising once a month for 5 hours. Small, regular effort creates lasting results.
Let's talk about motivation for a moment, because I know it comes and goes for a lot of learners.
This is such an important topic. Motivation is unreliable. It changes from day to day, depending on your mood or your energy level.
So, what should learners rely on instead?
Habit. If you build a simple daily routine, you'll continue practicing even on days when you don't feel particularly motivated.
Can you give an example of a simple daily routine?
Sure, something like this: 10 minutes of listening in the morning, 10 minutes reviewing vocabulary during lunch, and 10 minutes speaking practice before bed.
That sounds very manageable, even for someone with a busy schedule.
Exactly. The key is keeping it small enough that you'll actually do it every day, instead of skipping it because it feels like too much.
Let's talk about a topic a lot of learners struggle with: accent and pronunciation.
This is a big one. A lot of learners feel embarrassed about their accent and try very hard to sound exactly like a native speaker.
Is that actually necessary, in your opinion?
Honestly, no. Having an accent is completely normal, and it's not something you need to feel ashamed of.
So, what should learners focus on instead of perfect pronunciation?
Clarity. The goal should be speaking clearly enough that people understand you, not eliminating your accent completely.
That's such a relieving thing to hear for a lot of learners.
It really is. Many successful, fluent English speakers around the world still have accents from their first language, and that's completely fine.
Let's talk about technology now. There are so many apps and tools available today. Do you think they're helpful?
They can be very helpful, especially for building vocabulary and practicing daily habits, but they shouldn't completely replace real conversation practice.
So, apps are a good starting point, but not the entire solution.
Exactly. Think of apps as a tool that supports your learning, alongside listening, speaking, and real interaction with English content.
That's a balanced way to look at it. Let's talk about setting realistic goals now.
This is important too. A lot of learners set very vague goals like, I want to be fluent, but this goal is difficult to measure.
What would you suggest instead?
Something more specific like, I want to hold a 5-minute conversation about my daily routine within 2 months. Specific goals are easier to track and easier to achieve.
That's really practical advice. Let's talk a little about patience too, because I think this connects to everything we've discussed today.
Patience really is essential. Language learning isn't a straight line. Some weeks you'll feel like you're improving quickly, and other weeks progress might feel slow.
Is that normal though?
Completely normal. It happens to every single learner, no exceptions. The important thing is to keep going, even during the slower periods.
I think that's such an important reminder for our listeners today.
Definitely. Progress isn't always visible day by day, but if you stay consistent, it becomes very clear over months and years.
All right, I think it's time to summarize everything we talked about today for our listeners.
Sounds good. Let's go through the main points quickly.
First, age isn't really a barrier to learning English. Adults can actually learn quite efficiently.
Second, you don't need perfect grammar before speaking. Start speaking early, even with mistakes.
Third, you don't need to move abroad. You can create an English environment right from home.
Fourth, listen daily, even just 15 to 20 minutes, using simple, understandable content.
Fifth, learn vocabulary in connected groups related to real situations instead of random word lists.
Sixth, practice speaking alone first and move to real conversations when you feel ready.
Seventh, accept mistakes as a normal, necessary part of the learning process.
Eighth, consistency matters more than intensity. Small daily practice beats occasional long sessions.
Ninth, Rely on habit, not motivation, because motivation naturally comes and goes.
10th, don't worry about eliminating your accent completely. Focus on clear communication instead.
And finally, set specific, measurable goals and stay patient through the slower periods of progress.
That's a really comprehensive summary. I think if listeners apply even a few of these ideas, they'll notice real improvement.
I completely agree. Learning English doesn't have to be stressful or overwhelming. With the right approach, it can actually become an enjoyable part of your daily routine.
Well said. All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode.
Thank you so much for listening and for practicing your English with us today.
If you enjoyed this episode, try listening to it again tomorrow and notice how much more you understand the second time around.
Great advice as always. Take care, everyone, and keep practicing consistently.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.